My name's Amy, this is my husband Tino and my little black cat Satchmo, and together we moved from our one bedroom flat in Glasgow to a little cottage in the north of Scotland. Our house came with 2 acres, a little stone building that we call the byre, and a semi-derelict steading. We have lots of plans for our new home and everything it came with, but we're starting with the work in the cottage.
Soft, turn the key and cooler on. This a pause for relief.
But to give you a little bit of background about us, I'll take you back to the flat. We bought this flat about 7 years before we moved out of it, and we slowly brought it back to life. We removed the laminate floor and sanded and stained the original flooring. We put in a new kitchen, redecorated the hall, the bedroom, the living room, and we put in a new bathroom as well, and spent a lot of time just making it feel like home. We totally poured ourselves into the flat, and although we knew it wasn't going to be our forever home, we learned so much along the way.
Be the cat in the sun. Be the cat in the sun.
When it came time to leave, we knew we wanted to move to the countryside up in Aberdeenshire, so we started a very long house hunt journey. We looked at some derelict houses which stole our hearts completely but were too much of a project, and also some beautiful houses that just weren't in the right place. Feeling defeated, we went back to Glasgow and started the search all over again. But eventually we found the house that would become ours, and it was time to leave our Shawlands. Here's a little tour of what it was like before we left.
To lead a little bit undone. Be the cat in the sun. Be the cat in the sun.
So we woke up one Friday morning, packed up the car and drove everything from the city to the middle of the countryside. And when we got there, it was the last day of September in 2023. It was perfectly autumnal and we had a lot of apples and plums to process. So we quickly got about making our first ever batch of homemade apple juice. Luckily, my mother and father-in-law bought us some storage crates for our apples, and they lasted for months and months and months, but we did use most of them making apple juice, and getting these first few drops of our very own apple juice was just magical.
Soft, turn the key and cooler on. This a pause for relief.
And now for a tour of the cottage. Sorry about the shaky camera work. This was done about 3 days after we moved in. There's stuff everywhere. We have a living room, a little middle bedroom that we're using as an office, and the main bedroom. The original cottage is only 3 rooms, and they're good sizes, and the ceiling height's actually really good. I love pretty much everything about this wee house, but the view from the windows is probably my favourite thing. We have a little ensuite off of our bedroom, and then there's a little extension with a kitchen, pretty basic but functional, and also a small bathroom. There's a porch as you come out of our front door, just off the extension, and then, as I said at the beginning of the video, the house came with 2 acres of garden and a little byre, which I have been using as my studio. I'm self-employed and need somewhere fairly spacious to work, and this little building is perfect for my work, and I managed to work all winter long in it with a little heater, and yeah, it's a really good size, this wee building. I've got high hopes for its future. And the other building that came with the house was this big semi-derelict steading. At the moment we are using it as storage and basically a garage. We have a ride-on lawnmower that sits in here, and we haven't been able to fully unpack yet as the house is still kind of under construction, so we still have a lot of boxes in the steading. But when you get the chance to open up the doors in the steading, it's got the most wonderful view. So there's 3 big rooms, all used to be used for farming, and the end room, so it's kind of an L-shaped building, and the end room is probably my favourite. It's got such a lovely view out to our pond, which is very overgrown at the moment and isn't very pond-like, but it will become a pond again. And you can just see the byre in the distance there. The reason that this room's my favourite is because it actually has a little upstairs room. It's the only upstairs room in all of the buildings that we have, and I love this little room. I've even done a photo shoot for my small business in this wee room because I just think it has a really lovely feeling, and again, just like a lovely view out of all of the windows that are beside it. So my mum convinced me to give my studio a makeover before Christmas, my busy season for my shop, and I'm so glad she did. I was planning to hold off and do a really big makeover, which we never got round to, so I'm really glad we did a kind of in the meantime makeover. We freshened it all up by painting the walls white and getting rid of the carpet and putting down rugs. It only took us a couple of days to do it. My mum helped me with most of the paintwork. We had to get up high. It's the most amazing little building, and I can't wait to make more of it. I love this window that I'm standing on here, and I love this window. I quite like putting my desk facing out of this window. Then Tino helped me move everything back in and make the space functional for my first busy season, which was very fast approaching after we moved in. I'm usually right in the middle of all my work in October, and I didn't really get to start my work till kind of mid-November, which was quite scary. I had a lot to do in a month, but I got it done, and luckily I had this studio to help me do it, and it was incredibly cozy.
Set aside every empty spreadsheet line and loosen up on the grind.
Before we knew it, it was winter and the snow came. It was beautiful, and we just tried to enjoy our first proper winter in the countryside. And because we were inside and it was snowing out and I'd finished a lot of my work for the year, we started removing all the wallpaper in the cottage. Every room had the same textured wallpaper and we wanted to get rid of it. And then it was time to start sampling paint colours and looking for flooring samples, and before we knew it, the weather was lovely again and we could embrace our first summer in the countryside. I used to be a florist and I'm not anymore, and I love flowers and I'm hoping to grow a lot of flowers here. But last year I grew a few geums and delphiniums and cosmos and had such a fun time using all my flowers for decorations. As the first year in the cottage came and went, we got used to the rhythm of it. We tried to make the most of having apples and plums in large numbers. Unfortunately, we actually lost our big plum tree in a storm, which was really, really sad. But we took advantage of it by making some jam before we lost it. And we do have another plum tree, it's just not quite as big and magnificent. Using all the things in the garden has been one of the highlights of living here for me. As I said, I used to be a florist, so being able to just go out my front door and pick all the supplies I need to make a wreath or a bouquet brings me so much joy. And this was a wreath that I made in the autumn and it still looks the same. And this is my other plum tree, so this one actually has plums before the other one, and we had so many apples and plums last year. I made jams, I made crumbles, I've frozen about 12 crumbles. Unfortunately, I had to move out of my studio because the floor got really damp, and the only way we can properly fix it is to make a big drain outside the building and kind of redo the floor. So it's going to be a big job that we weren't ready to do at the time, and we will be ready to do soon. After we got all the wallpaper off the walls, we got the cottage ready to be plastered. We managed to get it done in time for Christmas, and then I was really busy with work again, and we were hoping to get the floors done in time for Christmas too, but we didn't. So I decided that I was gonna try making something new. I was gonna try and make a fireplace. So my dad's got a bit of experience with woodwork and he helped me make it. Mostly I learned that it was possible, and I'm really happy with the results. It's exactly the fireplace I want. I designed it myself. It's exactly how I wanted it to be, and I had the joy of making it. I constructed it. I was a wee bit worried that some things weren't great, but as soon as I sanded them, everything looked perfect, and I could use a little bit of wood filler on the one or two wee pieces that needed it, although I ended up using quite a lot of wood filler just to make it look kind of perfect. We installed it and then I primed it and painted it. I also painted around the fireplace in Faro and Ball setting plaster just to tie it in over Christmas and get rid of all the kind of marks. Then I painted the fireplace. I chose a beautiful colour called Cardamom by Faro and Ball. It's a kind of brown with a green in it. I hadn't actually chosen the wall colour at this point. I just knew what colour I wanted the fireplace to be and decided I was going to have to make the wall tie in with the fireplace as opposed to the other way around. I gave it 3 coats and eventually I was ready to style it just in time for Christmas.
To lead a little bit undone. Be the cat in the sun. Be the cat in the sun. Mm-hmm.
And that takes us up to today. It is the start of February and we are getting ready to start work on the cottage again. We're going to be taking out all of the carpets that were here when we moved in and putting in reclaimed pine flooring. We're going to be sanding it, staining it, and then we get to paint and do all the fun stuff for the 3 main rooms of the cottage, and then we'll be moving on to the big work that needs done in the byre and sorting out the kitchen and bathroom for now until we plan what we're doing long term. We've been collecting nice bits and bobs and making lots of plans, so I hope you'll follow us on the journey. Thank you so much if you watched this, and I'll see you in my next video.